Hey everyone, it's Ray with another episode of Ray's Reality Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about the premiere of Big Brother 24. I was very excited to watch it. I was very excited to watch it again today and take some notes and just really watch in a way that I've never watched before. So to start off, the first 4 house guests to enter the house was Jasmine, Kyle, Paloma, and Monte. And then the next 4 to enter the house was Alyssa, Daniel, Taylor, and Michael. The next 4 to enter the house was Nicole, Turner, Joseph, and Brittany. And the final 4 to enter the house was Terrence, Indy, Pooch, and Amira. As each of the house guests entered the house, they had to grab a ticket off one of the stations, and then once all 4 of them in their group had a ticket, they would go out and scan their tickets to see where they would end up. 5 of the house guests would end up at the porta potties, 5 would end up at the piercing tent, 5 would end up at the merch stand, and 1 person would be the backstage boss. So the 5 who went to the porta potties was Paloma, Jasmine, Nicole, Kyle, and Monty. The piercing tent had Taylor, Brittany, Turner, Joseph, and Terrence. At the merch stand was Amira, Indy, Daniel, Alyssa, and Michael. And then Pooch became the backstage boss. So Pooch didn't have to compete in the competitions that went down. So the first group to go was the porta potties. They had to listen to how many times the number 1, 2, or 3 was said, and at the end of each segment, they would select which number was said the most. So the first person out was Paloma, the second person out was Jasmine, then Nicole, then Kyle. Monte won and moved on to where he would have a chance to compete for the HOH. In the piercing tent, they had to take different piercings, figure out where they went on their face, and then put them all on there. And when they were done, they had to hit a buzzer to see if they were correct. Turner won that one and moved on to where he would compete in the HOH comp to see if he would be the first HOH of the season. In the merch stand, they had to hold on to the shirts that lifted them up into the air, and they wanted to be the last one holding on. And so Alyssa fell first, followed by Amira, then Indy, and then Michael fell, leaving Daniel as the last person hanging on, moving him on to the next part where he had a chance to compete for the HOH comp. So when it came down to the HOH comp, they had to put together a puzzle that was like a drum set. And as it went on, Daniel ended up winning the first HOH and is the first HOH this summer. That's an exciting spot to be in, but it's also a nerve-wracking spot because being the first HOH, yes, you're definitely not going to be the first boot, but you have to pick 2 people to nominate, and it can put yourself in a bad position because if the next person you nominated and they stay and they win the next HOH, they automatically have a reason to put you on the block. So that's just something to think about. Somebody has to be the first HOH, but it's always a spot where you would need to be sure that you're going to be able to make sure you have safety, at least for the next week. Because, as I said earlier, being the first HOH automatically gives people a reason to nominate you if they happen to win the second HOH and you nominated them and they stayed in the game. So once Daniel wins HOH, we then learn about our twist of the season, and that is the backstage boss. So Pooch, for finding the backstage boss ticket, he won't vote at the eviction. He won't compete in any of the competitions for this week. He cannot be nominated or evicted, but he's still eligible to compete for the next HOH. So that's a pretty nice spot to be in. You don't have to worry about voting. You don't have to worry about competing. You don't have to worry about anything, and you're safe. So right there is a pretty good reason to really have this power, this safety, to be the backstage boss. It's something that he don't have to worry about getting bad bloods on his hands at the moment. He doesn't have to worry about voting someone out or voting for someone and that person ends up staying in the game. But most importantly, he doesn't have to worry about being evicted. So he's not going to be the first house guest evicted, which is something that everybody strives for. But with that, he has to name 3 others to the backstage. The 3 others he names to the backstage, they can't be nominated, they can't compete, they can't vote, but they're not necessarily safe, because one of them that he names could end up leaving the Big Brother house first. And that's an interesting spot for him to be in, because for once, something that seems too good to be true. So he started off learning that he's safe, not going to be evicted, doesn't have to vote. So that's something that I'm like, okay, that's something that I would like to have. But there's always a but that follows something in the Big Brother house. So, hearing about this and having to pick 3 people to automatically go backstage on the first day in the house, I think that's a scarier spot to be in than to be HOH. Because when you have this sort of power, whoever you pick automatically has a reason to be pissed off. They automatically have a reason to not want to work with you, because you've put them in danger, essentially. And not knowing what to do or where to go, he did probably what I would have done. I would have looked at who was eliminated from the competitions first. So in the porta potty competition, the first person eliminated was Paloma. So he went ahead and picked her. In the Merc Stand competition, the first person eliminated was Alyssa. So he went ahead and picked her. And I can see the reasoning behind that. It's nothing to really go off, but it's like, hey, y'all were eliminated first, so this is what I think is best for me to do right now. And then he had to pick one other person, and he wanted to pick somebody from the Piercingtons. Somebody from all 3 competitions were being represented. And since the Piercington didn't really have an elimination order, they had a first place, and only a first place, he ended up choosing Brittany because she stood out. Sometimes standing out in the beginning of Big Brother isn't necessarily a good thing. So I'm interested to see what those 3 do now that they have been named to the backstage. They don't have to worry about competing. They don't have to worry about being nominated. And they don't have to worry about voting anybody out. What they do have to worry about is making sure they don't leave the game first. So the only person that those 3 should essentially be mad at right now is Pooch. And that's understandable, because I would be pretty mad at Pooch as well. So then, Julie Chen Moonves released that America is going to have a chance to have power over the backstage. And we get to vote for who of those 3 that Pooch named, Paloma, Alyssa, or Brittany, that we want to keep safe. And we can only pick one of them. So whoever has the most of America's vote isn't going to have to worry about being the first one to leave the Big Brother house either. And that's going to be interesting, and that's going to put them in a better place. However, that leaves the other 2 who didn't get that in a bad spot. So what they're going to have to do is really work their social games and see if there's anything they can do to keep themselves safe throughout this first week so that they don't have to worry about leaving first. The next episode of Big Brother is going to be on Sunday. So my goal is to have the next episode of Ray's Reality Podcast up on Monday. If you like this video, please like, share, subscribe, comment, tell your friends. And I will see you all on Monday with a breakdown of the next episode of Big Brother. Thank you.